The ridge hand, the knife hand strike, the front kick, the elbow strike. Most karate moves are useless in real fights, but these techniques have been proven to work when it matters most. Today I'm breaking down every karate move that actually works in real combat, and trust me, these aren't the flashy kicks you see in movies. The ridge hand strike. The ridge hand strike is one of the most devastating techniques in karate, and it's designed to deliver crushing blows using the bony ridge on the thumb side of your hand. This technique works because it concentrates all your striking force into a small, hard surface, unlike a punch that spreads impact across multiple knuckles. The ridge hand forces everything into one sharp edge that can break bones and cause massive trauma. Power generation comes from using your entire body, not just your arm. You rotate your hips and shoulders while driving the right hand forward, creating maximum impact at the point of contact. What makes the ridge hand so effective is the targets it's designed to hit. The temple, bridge of the nose, collarbone, and ribs are all vulnerable areas where a concentrated strike can cause immediate incapacitation. The technique requires serious conditioning to use effectively. Practitioners spend years hardening the ridge of their hand by striking trees, wooden posts, and other hard surfaces until it becomes like a hammer. In real combat situations, the ridge hand is particularly useful because it can be deployed quickly from close range without telegraphing your intention. The strike looks like you're just moving your hand, but it delivers devastating power. The ridge hand works best when targeting specific pressure points in vulnerable areas. A strike to the temple can cause unconsciousness, while a hit to the collarbone can break the bone and disable an opponent's arm. What makes this technique so practical is that it doesn't require perfect positioning like some other strikes. You can throw it from awkward angles and still generate significant power. The ridge hand has been proven effective in law enforcement and military applications because it's simple, direct, and can end confrontations quickly without requiring extensive training. By the way, if you're enjoying these crazy martial arts stories, hit that subscribe button. I've got way more insane content like this coming. Now, moving on. The front kick. The front kick's one of the most underrated techniques in karate. When executed properly, it can be a devastating knockout weapon that stops opponents in their tracks. This kick works because it's simple, direct, and uses your strongest muscles, your legs, to deliver maximum power. The technique involves driving the ball of your foot straight into your opponent's face, solar plexus, or groin. Power in a front kick comes from perfect timing and distance management. You wait for your opponent to move forward, then explode with the kick as they enter your range, using their forward momentum against them. What makes the front kick so effective is that it's really unexpected in most fighting situations. People prepare for punches and grappling. A well-timed front kick catches them completely off guard. The technique's devastatingly simple. You chamber your knee high, then snap your leg out straight while keeping your body balanced. The impact's delivered with the ball of your foot and generate incredible force. In real combat, the front kick works because it creates distance while delivering damage. Even if it doesn't knock your opponent out, it pushes them back and gives you time to escape or follow up with other techniques. The psychological effect of a good front kick is enormous. When someone gets hit with a properly executed front kick, they immediately become wary of moving forward, which gives you a significant tactical advantage. The front kick targets multiple vulnerable areas. A kick to the face can cause a knockout, a kick to the solar plexus can cause breathing problems, and a kick to the groin can end a fight immediately. What makes this technique so practical is that it requires minimal setup. You don't need to create complex combinations or wait for perfect positioning. You can throw it whenever your opponent's in range. The front kick has been proven effective in MMA, where fighters have used it to knock out world-class opponents or weren't expecting such a traditional technique. The knife hand strike. The knife hand strike is the ultimate precision weapon in karate, using the outer edge of your hand to deliver crushing blows to vulnerable targets with surgical accuracy. This technique works because it concentrates force into a small, hard edge that can penetrate defenses and cause massive trauma. The outer edge of your hand becomes like a blade when properly conditioned and used correctly. The power generation comes from perfect body mechanics. You rotate your entire torso while driving the knife hand forward, putting your whole body weight behind the strike. What makes the knife hand so devastating is the targets it's designed to hit. The neck, throat, collarbone, and ribs are all areas where a precise strike can cause immediate incapacitation or serious injury. The technique requires extensive conditioning to use safely and effectively. Practitioners spend years hardening the edge of their hand by striking sand, gravel, and wooden boards until it becomes like a weapon. In real combat situations, the knife hand is particularly effective because it looks less threatening than a punch, but can deliver equal or greater damage. Opponents often don't see it coming until it's too late. The knife hand works best as a counter-attack technique. When your opponent overcommits to an attack, you can slip their strike and counter with a knife hand to a vulnerable target. What makes this technique so practical is its versatility. You can throw it horizontally to the neck, vertically to the collarbone, or at an angle to the ribs, depending on the situation and target availability. The psychological effect of the knife hand is significant. The technique looks so precise and deadly that opponents often hesitate to attack, giving you the advantage you need. Modern special forces and law enforcement still train the knife hand strike because it's one of the most effective techniques for quickly incapacitating an opponent in life or death situations. The elbow strike. The elbow strike's the most devastating close-range technique in karate, using the hardest part of your arm to deliver crushing blows that can end fights instantly. This technique works because the elbow is naturally one of the hardest parts of the human body. Properly conditioned and used correctly, break bones, cause concussions, and deliver knockout power from close range. Power generation comes from using your entire body in a rotational movement. Pivot your hips and shoulders while driving the elbow forward, creating maximum impact at the point of contact. What makes the elbow strike so effective is its versatility. You can throw upward elbows to the chin, downward elbows to the collarbone, horizontal elbows to the ribs, and backward elbows when grabbed from behind. This technique requires serious conditioning to use at full power. Practitioners spend years hardening their elbows by striking heavy bags, wooden posts, and even concrete until they become like hammers. In real combat situations, the elbow strike is particularly useful because it works in the clinch when punches and kicks aren't effective. When someone grabs you or gets too close, the elbow becomes your primary weapon. The elbow strike works because it can be deployed from multiple angles and positions. Whether you're standing on the ground or being grabbed, there's always an elbow strike available. What makes this technique so practical is that it doesn't require perfect positioning or timing like some other strikes. You can throw elbows from awkward positions and still generate significant power. The psychological effect of elbow strikes is enormous. When someone gets hit with a properly executed elbow, they immediately understand they're in serious danger, which often ends the confrontation. Modern MMA has proven the effectiveness of elbow strikes, fighters using them to cut opponents, cause knockouts, and control positions on the ground. The side kick. The side kick is the ultimate distance control technique in karate, allowing you to deliver devastating power while keeping opponents at the perfect range for your attacks. This technique works because it uses your strongest leg muscles to drive your heels straight into the target. The side kick can generate incredible power because you're using your entire body weight behind the strike. The power generation comes from perfect technique and timing. You chamber your knee high and drive your heel straight into the target while keeping your body perfectly balanced and ready to follow up. What makes the side kick so effective is its ability to control distance. You can use it to keep aggressive opponents away from you while simultaneously delivering damage to their body or head. Technique's particularly effective because it's unexpected in most fighting situations. People prepare for punches and front kicks, but the side kick comes from an angle they're not used to defending. In real combat, the side kick works because it can stop an opponent's forward momentum while delivering significant damage. A good side kick to the ribs can break bones and end a fight immediately. The side kick targets multiple vulnerable areas. A kick to the knee can cause serious injury, a kick to the ribs can break bones, and a kick to the head can cause a knockout. What makes this technique so practical is its defensive capabilities. You can use the side kick to create distance when someone's rushing you, giving you time to escape or set up other techniques. The psychological effect of a good side kick is significant. When someone gets hit with a properly executed side kick, they become hesitant to move forward, which gives you a tactical advantage. The side kick's been proven effective in modern combat sports where fighters use it to control distance, set up combinations, and deliver fight-ending power. The straight punch. The straight punch is the most practical technique in karate, proving that simple, direct attacks are often more effective than complex, flashy moves. This technique works because it follows the principle that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. While opponents are throwing complex combinations, you simply drive your fist straight into their face. The power generation comes from perfect body mechanics. You plant your feet, rotate your hips, and drive your fist forward with your entire body behind it, creating maximum impact. What makes the straight punch so effective is its simplicity and directness. There's no telegraphing, no winding up, just a straight explosive moment that delivers maximum power to the target. The technique's particularly effective as a counterattack. When your opponent commits to an attack, you can slip their strike and counter with a perfectly timed straight punch that ends the fight. In real combat situations, the straight punch works because it's faster than most other techniques. By the time your opponent realizes what's happening, the punch has already landed. The straight punch targets the most vulnerable area, the face. A well-placed straight punch to the nose, chin, or temple can cause immediate incapacitation or knockout. What makes this technique so practical is that it doesn't require years of training to use effectively. Anyone can learn to throw a proper straight punch with relatively little practice. The psychological effect of the straight punch is enormous. When someone gets hit with a clean straight punch, they immediately understand they're outmatched, which often ends the confrontation. Modern combat sports have validated the effectiveness of the straight punch. It remains one of the most used and effective techniques in boxing, MMA, and self-defense. The crane kick. The crane kick is one of the most spectacular techniques in karate, providing defense and offense into a single movement that can end fights dramatically. This technique involves lifting one leg high while balancing on the other, then delivering a devastating kick to your opponent's head or body. The crane kick creates distance while simultaneously attacking. The power generation comes from perfect balance and timing. You use your standing leg as a base while driving your kicking leg forward with maximum force and accuracy. What makes the crane kick so effective is the element of surprise. The technique looks defensive, but it can instantly become a devastating offensive weapon when opponents move into range. The technique technique works because it allows you to fight from an unconventional position that opponents aren't prepared for. While balanced on one leg, you can still generate significant power and accuracy. In real combat situations, the crane kick is particularly useful for avoiding takedowns while simultaneously attacking with kicks and knees. It's both defensive and offensive at the same time. The crane kick targets the head and upper body, areas where a well-placed kick can cause immediate knockout or serious injury. This technique can end fights with a single strike. What makes this technique so practical is its versatility. You can transition seamlessly between the crane position and other techniques, keeping opponents guessing about your next move. The psychological effect of the crane kick is significant. Opponents are often confused by the unusual stance and don't know how to attack someone fighting from such an unconventional position. The crane kick requires incredible balance, flexibility, and timing to use effectively, but when mastered, it becomes one of the most spectacular and effective techniques in martial arts. The palm strike. The palm strike's the ultimate practical technique in karate, combining devastating power with safety for the striker, making it perfect for real-world self-defense situations. This technique uses the heel of your palm to deliver crushing blows to your opponent's face, chin, and solar plexus. The palm strike allows you to hit with full power without risking injury to your hand. The power generation comes from the same mechanics as a punch, using the palm heel instead of knuckles. It rotates your hips and shoulders while driving the palm forward with maximum force. What makes the palm strike so effective is that it combines power with safety. Unlike punches that can break the striker's hand, the palm strike allows you to hit with full power without risking injury. The technique works because the palm heel is naturally hard and can deliver significant force without the risk of breaking small bones in your hand. This makes it ideal for self-defense situations. Real combat, the palm strike is particularly useful in combination with grappling techniques. You can stun opponents with palm strikes before throwing or controlling them. Palm strike's also incredibly versatile. It uses an upward strike to the chin, straight strike to the nose, or a downward strike to the collarbone, depending on the situation. What makes this technique so practical is that it doesn't require years of conditioning to use effectively. Anyone can learn to throw a devastating palm strike with relatively little training. The psychological effect of the palm strike is significant. Technique looks less threatening than a punch, but can deliver equal or greater damage, often catching opponents off guard. Modern law enforcement and military personnel still train the palm strike because it's one of the most practical and effective close-range techniques available for real-world situations. The reverse punch. The reverse punch is the foundation of karate power generation, combining linear movement with rotational force to create one of the most devastating strikes in martial art. This technique involves stepping forward with one foot while simultaneously throwing a straight punch with the opposite hand. Reverse punch generates incredible power by using your entire body's momentum. The power generation comes from driving off your back foot, rotating your hips, and delivering the punch with perfect timing. Technique combines linear movement with rotational power for maximum impact. What makes the reverse punch so devastating is the way it uses your whole body to generate power from the ground up. Every part of your body contributes to the final impact. The technique works because it delivers maximum power in a straight line to the target. The reverse punch can break boards, bricks, and bones with ease when executed properly. In real combat situations, the reverse punch is particularly effective because it can be thrown while advancing on your opponent, moving forward and attacking simultaneously. First punch targets the most vulnerable areas of your opponent's body. A well-placed reverse punch to the solar plexus, ribs, or face can end a fight immediately. What makes this technique so practical is its versatility. You can throw it from different ranges and angles, adapting to whatever situation you find yourself in. The psychological effect of a properly executed reverse punch is enormous. The technique demonstrates such power and precision that opponents often lose their will to continue fighting. The reverse punch has been proven effective in modern combat sports, where fighters use it as both a primary attack and a devastating counter technique. The uppercut is one of the most devastating close-range techniques in karate, designed to deliver crushing power from below while your opponent's guard is focused on protecting against straight attacks. This technique works by driving your fist upward in a vertical arc, targeting your opponent's chin, solar plexus, or ribs. The uppercut generates power by using your legs to drive upward while rotating your torso. The power generation comes from dropping your body slightly, then exploding upward with your legs while rotating your hips and shoulders. This creates a devastating upward strike that can lift opponents off their feet. What makes the uppercut so effective is that it comes from an angle most people don't expect. While opponents are protecting against straight punches and high attacks, the uppercut sneaks in from below. The technique's particularly effective in close-range combat when your opponent is leaning forward or has their guard up high. The uppercut slips under their defenses and delivers maximum damage. In real combat situations, the uppercut works because it can be thrown from the clinch or when someone's trying to grab you. It's one of the few techniques that becomes more effective the closer your opponent gets. The uppercut targets the most vulnerable areas when thrown properly. An uppercut to the chin can cause immediate knockout, while an uppercut to the solar plexus can cause breathing problems and incapacitation. What makes this technique so practical is that it can be disguised easily. You can throw it while appearing to defend yourself, catching opponents completely off guard. The psychological effect of a good uppercut is enormous. When someone gets hit with a clean uppercut, they often lose their balance and become disoriented, making them vulnerable to follow-up attacks. The uppercut has been proven effective in modern combat sports where fighters use it to finish combinations and catch opponents who are focused on defending against other attacks. The hammer fist. The hammer fist is one of the most practical techniques in karate, using the bottom of your closed fist to deliver crushing blows that can break bones and end fights quickly. This technique works by using the meaty part of your fist like a hammer, striking downward or sideways to deliver maximum impact. The hammer fist is safer for your hand than regular punches, as you're not risking your knuckles. The power generation comes from using your entire arm like a club, driving the hammer fist down or across with your whole body behind it. The technique can generate incredible force because you're using larger muscle groups. What makes the hammer fist so effective is its versatility. You can throw it downward to the back of the neck, sideways to the temple, or upward to the groin depending on your position and target availability. The technique's particularly effective when your opponent's bent over or on the ground. A hammer fist to the back of the neck or spine can cause immediate incapacitation. In real combat situations, the hammer fist works because it's almost impossible to block completely. The wide arc of the strike makes it difficult to defend against with traditional blocking techniques. The hammer fist targets multiple vulnerable areas effectively. A strike to the collarbone can break the bone, a strike to the temple can cause knockout, and a strike to the back can cause serious injury. What makes this technique so practical is that it doesn't require perfect hand positioning like regular punches. You can throw it even when your hand is partially closed or when you're wearing gloves. The psychological effect of the hammer fist is significant. The technique looks and sounds devastating when it lands, often causing opponents to panic or lose their composure. Hammer fist is still used by law enforcement and military personnel because it's simple, effective, and can be used in situations where regular punches might not be practical. The knee strike. The knee strike is the most devastating close-range technique in karate, capable of delivering knockout power to multiple targets while being almost impossible to defend against. This technique works by driving your knee upward into your opponent's body or head. The knee is one of the hardest parts of your body and can generate incredible power when used properly. Power generation comes from driving off your standing leg while pulling your opponent into the strike. You use your entire body weight and momentum to maximize the impact of the knee. What makes the knee strike so effective is that it works from the clinch position where punches and kicks are less effective. When someone grabs you or gets too close, the knee becomes your primary weapon. The technique's particularly devastating when targeting the solar plexus, ribs, or head. A well-placed knee strike can break ribs, cause internal damage, or knock opponents unconscious. In real combat situations, the knee strike works because it can be thrown while controlling your opponent with your hands. You can grab their head or shoulders and pull them into the knee strike. The knee strike targets multiple vulnerable areas effectively. A knee to the solar plexus can cause breathing problems, a knee to the ribs can break bones, and a knee to the head can cause knockout. What makes this technique so practical is that it can be thrown from multiple positions. Whether you're standing in the clinch or on the ground, there's always a knee strike available. The psychological effect of knee strikes is enormous. When someone gets hit with a properly executed knee, they immediately understand they're in serious danger. The knee strike has been proven devastatingly effective in modern MMA, where fighters use it to finish fights and control opponents in the clinch position. The back fist. The back fist is one of the fastest techniques in karate, using the back of your knuckles to deliver lightning-quick strikes that can stun opponents and set up devastating follow-up attacks. This technique works by snapping your fist horizontally across your opponent's face or temple. The back fist generates power through speed rather than raw force, making it incredibly difficult to see coming. The power generation comes from a quick snapping motion of your forearm and wrist. You don't need to wind up or telegraph the strike. It can be thrown from almost any position. What makes the back fist so effective is its speed and unpredictability. The technique can be thrown faster than most people can react, often landing before opponents realize they're being attacked. The technique's particularly effective as a setup strike. You can use the back fist to stun or distract your opponent, then follow up with more powerful techniques like punches or kicks. In real combat situations, the back fist works because it can be thrown while appearing to do something else. You can disguise it as a defensive movement or throw it while setting up other attacks. The back fist targets the most sensitive areas of the face and head. A strike to the temple can cause disorientation, while a strike to the nose can cause pain and temporary blindness from tears. What makes this technique so practical is that it requires minimal commitment. If you miss or your opponent counters, you're still in a good position to defend or attack again. The psychological effect of the back fist is significant. The sudden, unexpected nature of the strike can cause opponents to lose their composure and make mistakes. The back fist is still taught in modern martial arts because it's one of the fastest and most practical techniques for creating openings and disrupting opponents' attacks. The spinning back kick. The spinning back kick is the most powerful technique in karate, capable of generating devastating force that can break ribs, cause internal damage, and end fights with a single strike. The technique works by spinning your entire body and driving your heel backward into your opponent. Spinning motion generates incredible power because you're using your whole body's momentum. The power generation comes from the rotational force of your entire body combined with the thrust of your leg. The technique can generate more power than almost any other strike in martial arts. What makes the spinning back kick so effective is the element of surprise combined with devastating power. Opponents often don't see it coming until it's too late to defend. The technique's particularly effective when your opponent's rushing forward. You can use their forward momentum against them, multiplying the power of impact. In real combat situations, the spinning back kick works because it can be thrown when your opponent thinks you're retreating or turning away. The technique turns apparent weakness into devastating strength. Spinning back kick targets the most vulnerable areas of the torso. A kick to the solar plexus can cause immediate incapacitation, while a kick to the ribs can break bones and cause internal damage. What makes this technique so practical is its ability to create distance while delivering maximum damage. Even if it doesn't knock your opponent out, it pushes them away and gives you time to escape. The psychological effect of the spinning back kick is enormous. The technique is so powerful and spectacular that it often ends fights through intimidation as much as physical damage. The spinning back kick has been proven effective in modern combat sports, where fighters use it to score knockouts and demonstrate their technical skill and power. The spear hand. The spear hand is the most precise technique in karate, using your fingertips like a spear to target specific pressure points in vulnerable areas with surgical accuracy. This technique works by extending your fingers straight and driving them into soft targets like the throat, solar plexus, or eyes. The spear hand concentrates force into a very small area for maximum penetration. The power generation comes from a straight thrusting motion that drives your fingertips forward with your entire body behind the strike. The technique requires perfect accuracy to be effective. What makes the spear hand so effective is its ability to target areas that are difficult to protect. While opponents can block punches and kicks, it's much harder to defend against a precise spear hand to the throat. The technique's particularly effective against larger, stronger opponents because it doesn't rely on raw power. A well-placed spear hand can incapacitate someone regardless of size differences. In real combat situations, the spear hand works because it can cause immediate incapacitation with minimal force. A strike to the throat can cause breathing problems, while a strike to the eyes can cause temporary blindness. The spear hand targets the most vulnerable areas of the human body. The throat, eyes, solar plexus, and certain pressure points are all areas where a precise strike can end a fight immediately. What makes this technique so practical is it can be thrown from close range without telegraphing your intention. The movement looks like you're just reaching out, but it delivers devastating precision. The psychological effect of the spear hand is significant. The technique looks so precise and dangerous that opponents can often become hesitant to engage, giving you a tactical advantage. The spear hand requires extensive conditioning and training to use safely and effectively. When mastered, it becomes one of the most feared techniques in martial arts. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be posting a lot more content like this. I'd greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe and ring that notification bell. Thanks for watching.